in this afternoon, Ghana's economic stability and hopes of maintaining some level of stability in 2024 is in limbo as external debt restructuring talks with the official creditors progresses at a slow pace. Now, creditors were scheduled to meet yesterday to agree on the magnitude of debt relief, with key focus on setting and also settling on a common cut-off date. Till date, there is no communication at all from the official creditors, failing, in terms of detailing the outcome of their meeting. Ghana is hoping to obtain some level of debt relief by seeking to rework more than $5 billion out of its bilateral debt. Now, this is not the first time Ghana is going into a meeting with its official creditors to ask for debt relief. A lead data analyst and also researcher here at Joy News, Isaac Ofeje, is joining us with more. Isaac, give us a sense of the kind of agreement we're talking about here and what's been happening in the last few days.
Well, Blessed, the last time we had an agreement or an arrangement or sort of a negotiation with our external creditors in terms of the official bilateral creditors to talk about debt relief was about 2 decades ago in May 2002 during the Kufuor era, when we undertook the HIPIC program where we had to do debt restructuring. Then we met the official creditor committee, then was the Paris Club, where we agreed that, they give us some sort of debt relief in 2002. And so we are doing this to give us a sense of how such meetings pan out and what is likely to be the outcome of the meeting that went on yesterday. So we saw that in 2002, what happened was that the cutoff date resulted in resetting Ghana's debt restructuring or debt servicing dates from January 1st, 1983 to now June 20th, 1999. So June 20th, 1999 became the fresh date to look at all other loans. Now, the remaining amounts were actually rescheduled for an over 23 years with 6 years of grace period. So what happened is that when they gave that cutoff, Ghana was given a chance to spread its debt in terms of the repayment structure for over a span of 23 years with a grace period of 6 years. And what happened was that just because of that decision, Ghana's debt that they owe the official creditors reduced from $270 million then in 2002 to $46 million. So that's how significant an arrangement with official bilateral creditors can help the country reduce its debt and then also help it to actually reach the debt sustainability threshold that the IMF actually set for us. But what actually happens is that we are not just dealing with bilateral creditors, Blessed. We are dealing with 2 creditors at the external front. We have the external bilateral creditors and we also have the external commercial creditors. The external bilateral creditors, we are actually in negotiation with them. For the commercial creditors, we've sent a proposal asking them to actually accept a haircut of up to 40% on the principal and then also on the interest. But if you speak to experts, some even believe that they do not even think that government is really, really keen on this debt restructuring exercise, because what happens is that when you restructure, then you have to start paying. So they feel that government wants to use some tactics to get the needed financing assurance, not any form of agreement. Then they get the IMF monies relief and release. And when they're able to do that, you end up not actually doing the actual restructuring that we are supposed to do. So they believe that government is now going after assurances rather than reaching specific debt restructuring.
This is a question as to how this is impacting our current IMF negotiations, looking at the fact that we're looking forward to a 600 million disbursement. How is that impacting on the exercise?
Well, so the entire IMF program is supposed to span from last year, 2023, to the end of 2026. And within this period, the disbursements are actually staggered within this period. And so if you miss one of the points, then it means that you're going to have the next point, being pushed ahead. So in 2023, for instance, we were scheduled to receive about $1.3 billion. Now, because we were not able to get all our creditors to come to the negotiation table, we only enjoyed $600 million out of the $1.2 billion that was scheduled to actually hit our account in 2023. Now, in 2024, we are talking about a schedule of $720 million the entire year. Now, the first tranche is supposed to come by May 1, 2024, is supposed to hit our account, which is $360 million, and an additional $360 million by November 2024. Now, because you have a backlog of $600 million, which is supposed to come after you pass your first review, and because you've not been able to get all your external creditors at the negotiation table, it means that you need to cross the $600 million hurdle before you can go ahead to talk about second reviews and other disbursements, which is supposed to amount to some $720 million dollars in 2024. So if we are able to do the $600 million now and also follow all the due processes and get a $720 million, it means we are simply going to get more from the IMF than anticipated in 2024. But if we keep delaying and if talks are not progressing the way it's supposed to progress, then it simply means that we probably will get less than scheduled. Blessed.
And of course, many are still wondering why we're where we are today, especially because we know that the domestic debt restructuring was that easy. Why is it taking us this long to secure the external debt restructuring?
Well, just like I said, the external debts, you are dealing with very complex creditors. You are not dealing with domestic creditors where you can bulldoze your way through just because you have some sovereign power. At the external level, the bonds or monies or liquidities that you take are governed by very sophisticated rules or legal terms. And if you go against them, it means that you are going to pay more. And mind you, at the commercial level, where we borrowed more than 11 billion in 3 years from the Eurobond space, the blue chip investors, or simply put, the people we bought the initial bonds from, are not the current holders of those bonds. They've actually traded them. They've dumped the bonds. And those who are holding the current bonds are people who are willing to accept risk. And so if you want to play the game with them, they are willing and available to play that game. They are not afraid of risk. They are not afraid of losing because already they bought a bond that was losing its value. And so you do not have your blue chip investors who, have already traded their bonds, holding the bonds right now. That makes it very difficult. And I always say that Ghana is not the only country at the external level looking for debt restructuring. So all other countries are looking at what the Eurobond guys will do for Ghana. Zambia is watching, Ethiopia is watching, Sri Lanka is watching. Everybody is watching. If you give Ghana a haircut of 40%, 30% maturity, whatever, people are watching and then they will come and ask either the same or something similar or even higher. And so the external guys are being very circumspect and tight-lipped in terms of the restructuring terms and agreement they will reach with Ghana. They do not want it to compromise or complicate other restructuring talks that they will have with other parties or agents in countries like Zambia and then also Sri Lanka.
And now to the big question, how much time do we have?
Well, at the moment, the timelines that we set for ourselves in the original program has actually, we've missed all the timelines. And it simply means that we need to now go to the negotiation table and set new timelines, especially to meet the executive board. As for the IMF, they are willing and ready to meet Ghana or the representatives from Ghana once you get the needed financing assurance. So at the moment, the onus lies on Ghana to get the needed assurances from the external creditors. IMF is ready and available. If you get the needed assurances, you can probably email them or talk to them. They will schedule a meeting for you to meet them. They are not seen to be, involved in this whole external debt restructuring because the IMF believes that this is a sovereign, work that you must go ahead and do these talks yourself. But the creditors know that there is a certain headmaster in the boat who is willing and ready to assist in terms of balance of payment, support, and other things that will help your economy recover. But the creditors know that this is an election year. And if they will give government any fiscal space, they are very mindful what they will do with that money. In 2002, when we got that debt, at the Paris Club level being slashed from 207 million to 46 million, we were asked to channel that fiscal space to other vital parts of the economy, like education, like healthcare. We saw the hippie schools that were built and all of those things. And so creditors will insist, especially at the bilateral level, because you are dealing with countries and other groups, they will insist that you use the monies and you invest the money in critical areas of the economy and probably not spend on elections.
And now, of course, looking forward to what's happening, the government is already indicating that it now wants to rely on treasury bills. We're seeing some reports of that. Is there any correlation to what's happening?
Well, of course, there's actually a correlation. And if you've collapsed your bonds market at both the external and local level, then it simply means that treasury bills becomes the last resort. And if you are borrowing so much from treasury bill, remember this year we are running a budget deficit of more than 60 billion Ghana cedis, which is somewhere around $6 billion. And government has indicated that, look, we are going to get almost the entire money from the treasury bill market. And how is government going to do that? Government is actually attracting commercial banks with very high interest rates. And so 31%, 29%, 30%, banks are now lending to government rather than lending to private people. And that will cripple the private sector of the economy. Private sector are being crowded out. And when it happens that way, whatever gains you get from the inflation space, you cannot really feel the impact because, government is borrowing at 31%. Who wants to lower the rate to the private person? So the private person will still borrow around 32, 33. And that actually, fades away all the gains that you get from the inflation space. So inflation is reducing, but because the cost of borrowing is so high, businesses are not feeling it, and the private sector is gradually being crowded out.
Okay, let's bring in Professor John Gachi with the University of Cape Coast Business School. Thank you so much, Prof, for spending some time with us here. First of all, your impression. What do you think is accounting for this delay? Professor John Gachi, I hope you're with us. We'll try and quickly fix that and get back to Prof, who is joining us to share his thoughts on this latest incident that we're, of course, or development we're learning of. And, of course, he'll be providing us with the aspects of probably looking at the fine details of the possible impact. But we now know that government has always stated its position on this matter, telling us how confident and hopeful they are that the creditors will indeed give their assurances. Should we just work with that, or there's more to this?
Well, Blazer, at this juncture, it's not how confident you are, it's how collaborative your creditors can be and how comfortable they are with the entire restructuring process. Some of them have raised concerns about what they call comparability of treatment, which has actually halted Zambia's debt restructuring. I spoke with Bright Simmons, and you get the sense that some of the creditors are concerned that there should be some sort of uniformity in terms of who gets what,
right.
The magnitude of haircut, how much am I getting, how much is my other counterparts getting. Nobody wants to bear the burden higher than any other person. And other people are also raising the concern that you are asking us, the external creditors, to tighten our belt. What are you also doing as the local government? Are you cutting down on costs? What are you doing to make sure that you are within your fiscal space? Absolutely.
Of what it is that government's policy is and how that is impacting or helping the situation. Professor John Gachi is back with us. Prof, apologies, we lost you on the line earlier. I was just talking about this, reports of the delay and possibly what could be the impact on our economy.
Well, the impact is very clear. We were expecting the IMF deal to offer us with policy improvements and some money
to cater for the needs of the economy. We received some $100 million in
that hit the account of Ghana, the second tranche by certain the end of the last quarter, but that didn't happen. The pressure will soon be put on the currency. It makes meaningless the drive down of inflation because all this thing has contributed to increasing the space for interest rates. The government doesn't have any cushion. Therefore, government resorted to borrowing in the money market, thereby increasing the rate and incentivizing the financial sector to lend money to it, and thereby the financial sector serving the economic success of the economy, specifically the private sector. So the growth momentum is not carried along with whatever is happening, and that will be another cost for the economy.
How about the negotiations currently ongoing? Government is hopeful that they'll be able to make some inroads. Do you see that happening anytime soon?
Well, I believe you are aware that since last year, government keeps talking about making a good deal, but we only realized after the meeting that no deal was arrived at. So we can't take the word of the government to be anything until we see something concrete happen, because these promises of deals going to come after some negotiation with the external creditors have come a number of times and did not yield any fruit. So I believe the right thing to do now is to wait as and when it comes, then it becomes reality. But whatever anybody is saying now should not be taken as the reality. Because remember, some institutions also indicated that these deals may come at the end of February, and some also indicated at the end of June. So if the June target is what will go by, then you can see the stress that the economy will be going through.
I was just asking this question earlier about how much time we have, and do you feel that government will be able to meet this window that we have in terms of limited time, and also try as much as possible to avert the possible implications you are talking about earlier?
Any time. The money should have come earlier. We need the money right now. If it doesn't come, it will continue to reflect on our indicators, as we know, and that will be precarious for the economy. And again, if you are not able to meet a condition for the IMF program, it means that gradually you are failing on implementing the policies and ensuring that the program works. And that is going to be a negative side for the government. It means that the government has signed onto a program, but it's not able to do things that will allow the program to go on.
And Prof, talking about the external debt restructuring, now there's the talk as to the official creditors themselves having difficulties in accepting or perhaps arriving at the date which they could deal with as the baseline for restructuring. If that's the case, how much of a problem is it going to be for us in terms of having either an easy or a more lenient external debt restructuring, if there's any description as such?
Well, it could also be one of the ways of trying to say we don't want to accept this kind of debt exchange program. That is one of the ways to do that. Then the other one is to consider the fact that these bilateral creditors we're talking about, they all lend money to us at different points in time. and everybody wants his time to be considered. But I believe the government has indicated, I think on the 6th of December, that they are open to any cut-off point, any cut-off period, which means that the government has become desperate. They need the program to go on. They want the agreement to be reached. So if the government indeed open up to say that we are open to any cut-off point at all, but still a deal is not being announced, it means that creditors have something up their sleeve, and maybe very soon they will release it to the amazement of Ghana.
Professor John Gashi, we're grateful for your time, and of course we'll keep watching the space and of course monitoring negotiations underway in Paris. Thank you for spending some time with us.